Welcome to the show, guys. Joseph Weber, the fantasy football counselor. We are talking NFL Week 8 starts and sits. Going to be diving into the starts and sits, every position, give you the optimal plays, and guys you may want to avoid. Guys that are in a position that may not succeed based on matchup. But understand, guys, it's not always based on matchup. Sometimes it's just based on situation, volume, depends on what corner they're going up against. But I'm going to give you guys all the optimal plays at each position. So I get a lot of questions. Do I start this guy or that guy? And they're torn. When it comes down to that, I keep saying this. Go with your gut feeling. If you got two equally good players you need to put in your flex or whatever position it may be, and you're torn, take a look at the situation. How well have they done the past 3 weeks? Take a look at the entire scenario, make the proper decision, because starts and sits can literally make or break your week, starting the right person. Okay, guys? Before we get into this show, the show is brought to you by mybookie.ag, guys. Enhance that game watching experience. Head on over there, use promo code FFC. This is the site I use that really enhances my game watching experience for sure. MyBookie.ag, use promo code FFC, the site I use. Go create an account right now. Okay, guys? Secondly, guys, manscaped.com, promo code ShowerLion, save yourself 20%. Amazing fit and finish on these things. I'm telling you guys, I just came up with new body wash, new shampoo. I've got it. I've been using it. Love it. Shampoo, underwear, ball wipes, everything you need, guys. Go treat yourself. Manscaped.com. Use code ShowerLion. Save yourself 20%. All right, if you're new to the channel, make sure you guys do click subscribe. Okay, guys? Let's dive in and hit that thumbs up. Really helps the channel. Starting off with the quarterback position. Okay, guys? Let's start with the quarterback position. Optimal plays. Okay? Daniel Jones, 18 points last week. Got an easy matchup versus KC. Do I trust him? Not really, but he's got a peak matchup. It is great value in DFS if you want to play daily fantasy or DraftKings, but go back and check that episode out, okay? I talk about all that. This is more starts and sits. Big Ben, great matchup versus Cleveland. I think this could be an exciting matchup, actually. One of the ones I'm looking forward to. Divisional matchup, Pittsburgh versus Cleveland. I can't wait. Big Ben got an easy matchup. Believe it or not, Justin Fields came off a terrible week last week. He's got it pretty easy with San Fran this week. Carson Wentz, I got him in a 2-quarterback league. Love him this week playing Tennessee. Josh Allen, great matchup. Kirk Cousins, phenomenal matchup this week versus Dallas. That is going to be a shootout. Vegas has got that really high. I think the over-under is well over 50. Excited to watch that one. It's another shootout. Jalen Hurts in a game that has to cement his legacy. There's been a lot of rumors going around that Minshew's going to start over him. I don't see it. I think Jalen Hurts is the real deal. His stats are stating it. The team record needs to be better. I think they're at 2-5 now, something like that, 2-4. They got to fix that. And this win has to happen this week versus Detroit, and he's got a good matchup. So Jalen Hurts, a must start. And he's been consistent, 25 points last week, 26 the week before, 24 the week before that. Jalen Hurts, absolutely solid across the board. Matt Stafford, great matchup versus Houston. He's been solid across the board as well. Matt Ryan, decent matchup. Ryan Tannehill and Pat Mahomes, mid-range, but a little bit, a little bit on the easier side for those guys. So Matt Ryan, Tannehill, Mahomes, all safe matchups, okay? Guys that have it in a little bit tough this week, Tua. From what I hear from Miami, he is the starter. He's the guy that they're going to play, barring any type of injury for the rest of the season, because there's all that speculation with Watson coming in. I just read a report that he's supposed to be the guy going into, staying in with the season, right? So Miami showing that, we have faith in Tua, but he does have it in tough this week versus Buffalo. Divisional matchup, tough matchup for Tua. Be aware of that. Now, we are doing a Tua giveaway, jersey giveaway, compliments of Pristine Auction. Make sure you guys go to Pristine Auction, use code SWAGLION. You're entered for those draws. Also, guys, right behind me here, Alvin Kamara speed helmet as well. Giveaway in about a week and a half on those. I just ended up shipping away the other giveaways, which included an Odell Beckham hat or speed helmet and a Justin Herbert signed jersey and a Kyler Murray helmet. So if you guys want to get in on those, pristineauction.com, code SWAGLION, get in. All right, so Tua, tough matchup. Tom Brady, believe it or not, got a tough matchup. He's been consistent the past 3 weeks, 4 weeks. Brady, solid, 24 points last week. Second hardest matchup versus Saints. Taylor Heineke got it in tough. Mac Jones, Justin Herbert's got it in tough versus New England secondary. But I'm starting Justin Herbert. I don't care if he's got the 7th hardest matchup versus position. Dak Prescott. Mike White is starting versus the versus the Bengals. Got it in tough. Okay, guys? Just be aware of that, okay? Mike White. If you've never heard of him, you'll hear about him this week. He's going to make a name for himself, or It could be another Peterman situation. And Burrow, who's been red hot, got 10th hardest matchup versus position versus the Jets secondary, believe it or not. All right, let's move on to the running back position here going into NFL Week 8. The guys that got it in tough and the guys that got it in easy. Just so you're aware of it, you can make a better decision with starts and sits. Guys that got it in tough. He's been red hot though. Cordell Patterson's got it in a little bit tough this week versus Carolina's rush defense. Alvin Kamara coming off a huge week last week, and the past 2 weeks have been really good. Kamara versus Tampa Bay's rush defense got it in tough. Second hardest versus position, okay? Running backs from the Dolphins, not that you should be starting them, but Gaskin's been pretty decent. Actually, he was only decent last week and the 2 weeks prior to that. Gaskin's got it in tough. He's playing Buffalo. Uncle Lenny got it in tough versus the Saints. Derrick Henry, 5th hardest matchup versus position. But how do you sit Derrick Henry? You don't. Najee Harris, 6th hardest matchup versus position versus Cleveland. But he is a volume guy. I'm starting Najee no matter what. Love Najee. Nick Chubb, I think he's still going to be banged up. I would still go Dearness Johnson, but he's got a tough matchup versus Pittsburgh's rush defense. Dalvin Cook got it in tough versus Dallas. And Jonathan Taylor, 10th hardest matchup versus position. Now, Austin Eckler, from what I hear, is banged up. Either way, Kelly, whoever gets to start, whether it be Roundtree, Jackson, whoever gets that work, has the 12th hardest matchup versus position versus New England's rush defense. So it's not going to be a walk in the park for Eckler's backup if he ends up sitting the matchup, okay? From what I understand, there's a hip injury. And like I said, he's not built to be a workhorse running back. We'll have to see how it plays out. Easy matchup, Samaje Perine, Cincinnati's running backs. Joe Mixon, if he plays, I think he's a little banged up. I think he should be good to go. Jets. Rush defense, not good. They've got it in good. Guys, if you're Bengals running backs, maybe good for DFS. Brandon Bolden, who's been pretty solid just last week, actually kind of had a breakout week or last time they played. And he's got a second easiest matchup versus position versus the Chargers rush defense, who've been giving up a lot of points. James Robinson, great matchup. Like I said, Brandon Bolden, great matchup. All these guys, good matchup. Oh, I got to mention this. Kenneth Gainwell's got it in easy as well versus Detroit, okay? All good matchups here. Deandre Swift coming off a huge week last week, 28 points. Good matchup versus Philly's rush defense, okay? Singletary hasn't been consistent, but they've got an easy versus Miami, him and Zach Moss and all those guys. Darrell Henderson's got an easy this week as well. Alex Collins, a lot of people asking if they should start him. He's got in pretty easy this week. Had a rough week, 5 points last week. Jacksonville, good matchup, okay? Darrell Williams, good matchup, crapped the bed last week. Got an easy versus Giants, okay? Tony Pollard, Zeke, relatively easy matchups, all right? A lot of people asking about David Johnson this week. David Johnson, I would definitely consider starting him as a flex play. They got rid of Ingram. He seemed to get most of the workload last week. David Johnson, 10 points last week. Should see that go up if he gets more volume, and that continues, all right? Let's move on to the wide receivers. Now, if I'm not mentioning certain players, that means they've got mid-range matchups. They're not on the extreme of very easy or very hard. But when we're talking about wide receivers, let's go with the tough matchups. Jalen Waddle, Buffalo, like I mentioned, Tua, tough matchup. So any wide receivers from Miami got it in tough. Jacoby Myers got it in tough versus the Chargers, right? Anybody from New England, they've got it in tough versus the secondary of the Chargers. Be aware. Jamar Chase has been red hot. Got it in tough. Would I start him? Sure. He's been consistent. He's been solid. He's the number one volume getter. I would start him, okay? Tyler Boyd at this point, just not a guy that I trust or like at all. Tyler Boyd's droppable. But again, these guys, it's a three-headed monster. They could have a blow-up game here and there, but doesn't look very consistent at all. Detroit wide receivers got it in tough. Who else has got it in tough here? Los Angeles Rams, believe it or not, wide receivers. Cooper Kupp has been red hot. Houston secondary is actually not that bad. He's got it 6th hardest matchup versus position. Be aware of that. Brandon Cooks, playing the Rams defense. They've got it in tough as well. Works the other way. Terry McLaurin's got it in tough versus Denver's secondary. Be aware of that. He had a big game last week. 2 weeks prior, he wasn't that good, but Terry McLaurin's got it in tough this week. Make sure you guys are listening because I might be covering your guys here. New York Jets wide receivers got it in tough versus Cincinnati secondary. Washington, like I said, be careful with those guys. Again, I'm seeing a tough matchup versus Denver. It's going to be tough. Laviska Shenault, they've got it in tough, okay? Laviska Shenault, all the wide receivers from Jacksonville versus Seattle, they've got it in tough. Tyreek Hill, mid-range matchup versus the Giants, okay? Just to be aware of that. Let's move on here. Now I got to give you the optimal matchups here. At wide receiver, Michael Pittman coming off a red-hot week where if you guys watch that game, Michael Pittman in the rain absolutely destroyed it. I've watched that game. Him and Carson Wentz got it in good versus Tennessee. That's going to be a good matchup. I can't wait to watch that. Cortland Sutton's got it in easy this week versus Washington. Him and Tim Patrick. Stefan Dix, great matchup this week versus Miami. Deebo Samuel, who's been red hot all season. When everybody, the mainstream, were telling you, Ayuk's the guy. I'm like, Ayuk's not the guy. It's Deebo. Deebo's got in good this week versus Chicago. Justin Jefferson, Adam Thielen, great matchup versus Dallas. Like I said, it's going to be a bit of a shootout there. Jarvis Landry, if he's healthy, if he's playing, or any wide receiver from Cleveland, has a decent matchup versus Pittsburgh. A.J. Brown, if he's good to go, I think he is versus Indy. Great matchup. Julio's always banged up, very hard to trust, very inconsistent. But I like A.J. Brown this week, believe it or not, versus Indy. Devontae Smith due for a massive big game versus Detroit. He is due. He's going to have a big game this week. I feel it. Good matchup. DJ Moore, great matchup. Deontay Johnson due for a massive game as well. Great matchup, Deontay Johnson. Mike Evans and Godwin should have a great matchup and should get a lot of points because Antonio Brown's out, but Gronk could be back, could be a red zone target. It's either going to be Evans or Godwin, or it could be both of them. They've got in good versus the Saints pass defense. All right. Sterling Shepard, if he's healthy, all those guys from the Giants have a decent matchup as well versus KC. Moving on to tight end, I'm going to give you guys the optimal defense matchup as well. Again, if you are new, make sure you guys subscribe. Trying to give you guys as much information, trying to hit the points here with you guys every single week so you guys know what's up based on matchup, okay? Tyler Higbee, great matchup. Geno Smith, great matchup. So when I say that player, understand that all tight ends from that team are good. New England, they've got an easy versus the Chargers. Who else is there? CJ Uzomah versus the Jets. Great matchup. He's been pretty solid the past couple weeks. Uzomah been solid. TJ Hawkinson's got it in good as well. Let me see if there's anyone else. Noah Fant, mid-range matchup. Guys that got it in tough here, you should be aware. I know Ricky Seals-Jones had a good game a couple weeks ago and a safe game last week. He's got it in tough versus Denver. They play tight ends tougher. Gronkowski, like I said, a little questionable, should be able to go. Does have a tough matchup versus the Saints. They play tight ends tougher, third hardest versus position, but he's got that boom upside, that big red zone upside, right? Mo Alley Cox could get a touchdown this week. Got it in a little bit tough. Jared Cook, tougher matchup this week. Gesicki, seventh hardest matchup versus position. Believe it or not, Buffalo plays tight ends pretty tough. Buffalo's a pretty solid defense all around. Pat Freiermuth, 12th hardest matchup versus position. And a lot of people asking about Cole Kmet. He's had a couple safe games, nine pointers. Tough matchup, 9th hardest versus position. But again, guys, just because they have a tough matchup doesn't mean they're going to crap the bed. But you should be aware this is going to help stray you away from certain players if you're torn, right? If you're trying to make a decision. Now, looking at the defenses I absolutely love this week. Like I'm in love with to start. I do like the Bengals defense against Mike White. Unless Mike White comes out and tears it up, future Tom Brady, I really doubt it, but crazier things have happened. Bengals, good matchup. 49ers versus Chicago. I like the Rams if you're looking to stream a defense this week. Rams are not available, but most likely. But these are the defenses that I like. So Rams, I like the Seahawks this week versus Jacksonville. Falcons versus Carolina. I like the Giants versus KC potentially if the KC keeps playing the way that they have. But Giants, if you need to stream a defense, they're probably there. But, just be careful. If Pat Mahomes goes off, you could be in trouble. Bills versus Miami. I love them this week. Washington football team versus Denver. Chargers versus New England. And Eagles versus Detroit if you need to stream some defenses. There's a bunch of names. Like I said, Bengals, 49ers, Rams, Seahawks, Falcons, Panthers, Bills, Washington football team, Chargers, Eagles as a couple names. All right, guys. There's so much to cover in a start and sit episode. I've tried to make it bite-sized information and go over and break it down by position, but this should definitely help you guys get the advantage going to NFL Week 8 fantasy football, and I cannot believe we're halfway pretty much through the season. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, manscaped.com, shower line, go treat yourself. You're going to love the products, and I'm out, guys. We will talk soon. Subscribe. I'm out.